Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are really excited and have a really good presentation ahead. This is from reactive to proactive, the rise of agentic networks with Kentik and ServiceNow. So without further ado, we'll begin. Let's just walk through the agenda for the session today. We'll go over some introductions, go through market insights and trends, discuss AI innovations redefining IT ops. We'll talk about Kentik and ServiceNow's ITOM integration. There'll be a demo, which will be really fun, and a Q&A. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have a survey pop up. Please, if you're able to take just 15 or 20 seconds to answer that survey, we would really appreciate it. And we'll send a reminder again at the end of the presentation. So our presenters, we have a really fantastic group today. We have executive leadership from Kentik and from ServiceNow with Avi Freedman and Gab Menachem. And we also have technical experts, Danica Shei and Steve Meuse from ServiceNow and from Kentik. And we have a lot to kind of discuss. So we're going to kick it right off. And I'll hand it over to Avi Freedman for market insights and trends.
Awesome. Thank you very much, David. And thank you, Gab and Danica and the entire ServiceNow team for making this possible. Thanks for everyone, to everyone for joining. As we look at the market today, talking to global enterprises, what we're hearing is that they're managing, well, global and hybrid infrastructure. The world's gotten more complex, but the business still expects the revenue to flow, everyone to be able to coordinate and communicate inside the enterprise 24/7. It's become harder and harder as the infrastructure gets more complex to hire experts to do this, many of whom are retiring and vanishing from the world. But the pressure is to make the infrastructure run 100% of the time, but with fewer resources. So what are the approaches that you can take? The key to addressing these challenges is really to have complete observability, including the network, of course, the infrastructure and the applications, putting it all into context, making it available. Historically, what did that mean? It meant making it available for humans to do the work. The great news is that it's not just hype, that it's now possible to actually have platforms and AI help coordinate and supercharge operations for enterprises globally. Our focus has been on doing that in the network layer, which we'll talk about a little bit, but we're really thrilled to partner with ServiceNow to bring this to enterprise, especially because for the last 5 years, we've really seen ServiceNow, not Cisco or other network vendors, as the lead in automating IT and network operations, the human side, not the Python and other scripts, but actually how enterprises are operating that infrastructure. So it's great to be doing this partnership. I'll talk a little bit about what the Kentik approach is as an introduction to the integration. If you go to the next slide. Our focus has always been on seeing everything, all your networks, whether they're the ones you own or the ones you use, the cloud and the internet, bringing that all together, and bringing the application context and integrations to that. But historically, that's been humans operating these tools. Our focus in turning observability into intelligence has been teaching the systems and agentic AI that we've incorporated how to do what humans are doing and actually focus on delivering, well, actual outcomes by using AI. Historically, there's been a lot of focus on event correlation, reducing signal. Our belief is that we can actually help extend and put under control of humans the entire find, debug, fix workflow cycle. So our efforts have really been focused tactically on a couple levels. One, make sure the platform itself has everything that humans and AI need to operate. So whether it's understanding traffic or metrics or performance, putting it all into context. And then because we operate a global platform, with hundreds and hundreds of people running the digital infrastructure from service providers and cloud companies and global enterprise, we're teaching our systems how to do the same kind of operations that humans are doing. And as a result, we can actually enable always-on monitoring and use the systems to trigger in and look at what are the real issues, where issues should be routed, and then bring humans in to confirm, do further investigation, and move on. As an approach, as I mentioned, observability is at the core. Agentic AI, which of course we've been hearing about a lot this year, is now available to help identify issues, triage, and take next steps. And where we're going with this is to bring basically a fleet of AI advisors operating the observability and turning that into intelligence with human oversight and integrated with the systems that enterprise are using, like ServiceNow, APM, and other systems. So again, we've said agentic a few times. It's a new term this year, but it's real and being used by customers. Really three ways. One, we've taught our AI systems how people use Kentik and enabled autonomous operations within our platform. Second, identifying and routing issues and bringing experts to those right systems. As I said, ServiceNow is really the leader that we see in the field. And this integration, which we're talking about today, is a key way that we'd like our enterprise customers to be getting value. We'll say this at the end in the callouts, but if you're interested in this and you're a ServiceNow Kentik customer, please reach out to either company because this is something that you can actually use. The third way, which we've seen, is DIY. So basically going from basic APIs to natural language interfaces that expose some of the same capability. A2A MCP is a little bit down the road in terms of security and discoverability, and we can talk about that in the Q&A, but we have customers already also pulling systems like ServiceNow and Kentik into their own strategies, and it's been really exciting to see because the pace of innovation is really high this year, and it's not just hype. With that intro, I will turn it over to Gab and the ServiceNow side.
Thank you, Avi. It's a great privilege to be here today in front of Kentik and ServiceNow customers and future customers. Since the introduction of GenAI into our lives just a couple of years ago, we've been hard at work to incorporate this game-changing technology into every workflow. So let me start with some inspiration from ServiceNow's own journey. And what I brought you today is this graph that shows how, as ServiceNow grew to double and triple its size in employees, we didn't add support headcount in the same proportion. In fact, during the last year, while introducing GenAI into all the workflows, we saw an opportunity to repurpose a lot of these employees to continue to build our platform. Automation and ServiceNow workflows absorb the extra load, removing repetitive tasks and things that, frankly, people don't like to do. And the result is that every IT employee became more efficient, proving that automation can scale business far better than simply hiring more people. And as you can see here on the graph, we stayed pretty flat throughout the years, and even in the last 2 years, we saw a reduction of the number of employees we need in order to support our own employees. When you look at the incident lifecycle, identify, triage, remediate, validate, ServiceNow becomes the operating system tying it all together. By connecting with observability vendors like Kentik, we bring in domain expertise and context about the environment. That accelerates the triage, and we know the problem, we know who to involve, what action to take faster than ever before. That's the premise of what GenAI could do for your business if you incorporate everything that the observability vendors are doing into your ServiceNow workflow. So in the next slide, we're actually showing the full gamut of what the operator and the AI system is doing from when something breaks until the remediation is actually validated. GenAI amplifies each stage of the process. It helps identify issues by spotting hidden patterns, speed triage with smart recommendations, drive remediation with automated actions, and validate outcomes by confirming fixes and documenting results. Every step is an opportunity to inject intelligence that compounds into better, faster outcomes. So as you can see here, we've incorporated these AI parts to the workflow, not just by using ServiceNow technology, but actually using agent-to-agent communication, working with observability vendors like Kentik in order to bring it into your ServiceNow experience. Now, this doesn't replace the need for an observability tool. It actually amplifies the value of it. So as you look at Kentik as your network provider, understanding your network, helping you understand what works and what doesn't work and how to fix better, ServiceNow is able to work with Kentik seamlessly behind the scenes to help the first responder actually understand what's broken, what is the impact, who should I contact, and how should I communicate to them so it's more effective. And ultimately, looking at where this gets delivered in the ServiceNow experience, all of this work comes together in ServiceNow's event management console, what we call AIOps these days. Employees see the issue, the context, the recommendations, and the actions without leaving the interface. No switching between tools, no wasted motion, just a streamlined workflow that cuts the noise and drives resolution. We're very excited about the opportunity to bring this capability to market with leading observability vendors like Kentik. Many of our customers have multiple observability vendors, even within the same service, and are looking for the way to incorporate GenAI into their process effectively. I want to invite my amazing colleague, Danica Shei, to show you a demo of the workflow of the future and how Kentik and ServiceNow together make the vision of agent-to-agent workflows a reality.
Thanks, Gab. Hey, everyone. I'm a product manager at ServiceNow, and I'm going to show you guys a quick demo of how we integrate with Kentik. 1 second. Okay. So this is a demo of how the ServiceNow ITOM product works with Kentik and how we're going to bring network expertise into the hands of the first responder or L1 operator through Agentic AI. So we're beginning in the service operations workspace. This is what we call the central command center for L1 operators or first responders. And this is the central hub for where all of the alerts are flowing into ServiceNow, and we can help reduce noise and elevate issues that require real human attention. So I'm impersonating an operator for a fictional online gaming company, and I'm responsible for the game studio service. And so that's a very critical application. So I'm going to start by filtering down to that service, game studio, and I'm also going to filter down to just critical and major issues. And so one alert jumps out to me. There is abnormal traffic increase for the front end service. And so clicking into this alert, I'm going to be able to see a little bit more detail. So clicking into this alert, I can open up the impact panel and I can see what entities have been impacted. This is the game studio, which I'm responsible for, and the front end service. If I click into probable root causes, there's also 4 probable root cause theories detected, and these are detected based off of recent changes that ITOM has detected related to the impact service. So just a quick glance, I can see that there's been recent deployments on the subscription service, the front end service, player matching service, and there's also been a recent TLS update configuration change on the user service. So as a responder, there's enough information for me to act, but there's not a lot of information for me to act with confidence. There's a couple impacted services, and there's some conflicting signal on what could be the root cause. So there's a risk of going down the wrong path or pulling in the wrong team, extending my MTTR. So I'm going to show you guys what we just released. These are our new conversational AI agents, and they're going to help me take more decisive action. And this is what we call Now Assist, which is ServiceNow's intelligent chatbot. So pulling in my first question, sort of off the top of my head, is there abnormal traffic happening? And so what's happening in the background here is that Now Assist is getting to work and it's grabbing contextual information about this alert, and it's going to assemble a team of dynamic AI agents to best answer this question. And pretty soon it's going to detect that this alert came from Kentik. And so it's going to activate the Kentik AI agent. And I have it in a little bit of a verbose mode so you can see what's happening under the hood. But in the meantime, I'm going to click into the dependency view. And this is going to show you sort of the topology map in context. So the front end service is where the abnormal network traffic is happening. And you can see that the front end service is calling into 4 different separate services. And these are the changes that have been detected on that service. If I scroll over to the knowledge section, we are also able to pull in previous knowledge articles or postmortems that had very similar symptoms to what we're seeing now. And so in this case, this describes a DDoS attack on the front end game service, and it kind of gives you some information on the symptoms that were observed and the root cause. So this is all very helpful information as I wait for this AI to respond. And so Now Assist has detected that there's significant network anomalies. There's been multiple traffic spikes and drops concentrated from one external service. And they're indicating that this seems like a DDoS attack that's affecting the game studio infrastructure. And so, a follow-up question for me is, can you tell me more about the traffic spikes? As I debate whether this is something that I can solve myself or do I need to escalate immediately, knowing a little bit more detail kind of gives me more credibility as I pass this on. So Kentik has detected that there's multiple traffic spikes. It seems like there's 3. The first one happened in this window and it went up to 1.24 gigabytes. And these were, and there was also internal traffic surges. And so this is, and they keep kind of saying that this is consistent with a DDoS attack, which gives me more confidence that this is what's happening. And then just out of curiosity, I'm going to say, do you have other root cause theories? What's the most likely one? And so based on the available data and the reports, the most likely root cause of this network anomaly is a targeted DDoS attack, and it's indicated by the traffic spikes that it detailed for me. And it also calls out, there's other possible root cause theories such as misconfigured network devices or, sudden legitimate searches. And I think it's adding that for completeness. But from here, I'm pretty certain that I'm going to pass this on to a network expert to actually start the mitigation. So this quick demo just sort of illustrates how we can bring network expertise directly into the ServiceNow interface without having to pull in a network expert or logging into the Kentik platform itself. With just the simple questions, we can reduce triage time by highlighting the most probable root cause out of multiple possibilities, and it helps me act with more confidence and clarity, and I can avoid unnecessary escalations to potentially, all 4 teams. And so now I'm going to pass this to Steve, who's going to represent the network expert that the first responder pulls in to respond to this DDoS attack.
Okay, thank you, Danica. So as a network expert on this fictional network, I've been notified by the L1 first responder team that there's an issue, and now it's my job to go through and verify the data. So I might be coming into my alerting panel here to look for any alerts that I could see that I have some abnormal traffic alerts. So I can go into the alerting panel, see that there's something happening, and even click down deeper into the actual alert that's happening right now. Now, the L1 team indicated that previous, responses indicate that it might be a DDoS attack. So what this allows me to do is very quickly look at the traffic and make a quick decision whether I think this is attack traffic or not. If I think it's attack traffic and I need to do something about that, mitigate the actual DDoS, I have quick and easy options to manually mitigate that traffic through a number of methods, whether that be through traditional hardware scrubbing platforms like A10 or Radware, or use something like a BGP flow spec or BGP communities to scrub the bad traffic. But if I'm not necessarily convinced that this is an attack, I can look further, right? So the Kentik interface has a mountain of data that we can start to look at it. So we can look at the pattern of traffic, and we definitely see that there's something abnormal here. We can start to look at things like which network interfaces are the traffic coming in across. So we can see we have a gigabit interface here where some traffic's coming in, but maybe that's not helpful. Maybe I could know that it's open VPN traffic. I could look at the source countries and I could see, okay, there's a lot of traffic coming in from the United States, which makes sense as I have multiple branch offices. So there'd be a lot of normal open VPN traffic there. But for these particular spikes, I can see that, okay, I have spikes coming in for this particular type of traffic coming in from China and Japan. Well, I don't expect any open VPN traffic to be coming in from those locations, but we do have people that travel, so we never know. So during this analysis, we can look at a number of different aspects of the actual traffic itself, very quickly get understanding of services, packet sizes, and all the potential attributes that the traffic could potentially have. But the reality is that there's an event happening, services are affected, and rather than make this a research project, which could potentially take me an hour to find the exact detail, I have the option of using Kentik's AI Advisor. So I can very quickly hit the Ask Kentik Advisor and say, what are the probable causes for this alert? And I can maximize that to get a little bit better response here. And Kentik AI Advisor will start to go investigate the alert and give me some potential things to look at. Now, again, the real value that being delivered here is that because there's so much data available about the network, we're trying to get services back online as fast as possible. So we need to reduce that time to innocence, right? So here we can see Kentik's already, the AI advisor's already starting to dig into it, looking at patterns during that specific alert time frame, perform cause analysis on the traffic spike. So as this is happening, we can go through, look at the individual spikes. Is there anything unique about this particular spike? We can see which devices the traffic's coming in through. We can see that it's whatever type of traffic is it coming in through the DMZ? Is it not coming in through the DMZ? And there are multiple spikes. So are there issues between the different spikes? And is there any way to correlate this traffic? But as we glance down through here, we can start to see the most probable causes. So in this case, Kentik AI Advisor is telling us the most likely cause of this is a VPN brute force attack. So it might make sense for us to mitigate this traffic rather than spend another hour trying to build a case here. VPN service discovery scanning. So this could be somebody out on the internet trying to look for open VPN concentrators, looking for security holes. Or legitimate VPN client issues, right? So maybe actually in this particular case, we deployed new VPN concentrators in China and Japan, and there's a misconfiguration. So every so often as they're trying to connect or establish connection back to this main location, we're seeing these spikes in open VPN traffic, right? So that gives you these options right away to say, here are the 3 things to look at to get your services back on track as quickly as possible. So in the case where I think that it could potentially be an attack, I have the option of going back in and I've made a determination that this is a DDoS. I can come back into the alert, go back and select my mitigation method and end the service disruption for the time being, and then of course in postmortem go back and do a lot more investigation. So it gets us to the answer so much faster than it would before. In my time as a network operator over the last 30 years, you can easily consume 15 minutes just trying to understand which systems are even affected what system do I have to log into to start looking at the traffic? What devices should I be logging into? So this sort of just removes that entire process. Say we have all the data, we have all the systems, we know where this is all going. Here's the 3 things to do right off the bat, and get you to that valued MTTI, the mean time to innocence. So in summary, being able to take this mountain of data between ServiceNow and Kentik and get to answers on both sides super fast is the real value add here. Back to you, David.
Avi, was this your slide here?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy to see some questions that came in the webinar chat and Q&A that we'll get to, that talk about some of the that are asking about some of the questions and benefits that people get. But what we've seen is, as some of what Steve said, faster resolution, both in terms of the time that humans take and, of course, actually getting the infrastructure back up and running, faster detection, noise reduction, more efficiency, all in the goal of better delivery of experiences to users. We're excited about doing that, on the Kentik platform and in partnership with ServiceNow, really going across the enterprise, from the first responders on up. So it's been very exciting. And again, thank you to the ServiceNow team for partnership.
All right. As you mentioned, we have a number of questions. I don't know, Gab or Avi, if you want to jump into them, or if you want me to select some. We have some really good questions here from the audience.
Let's go. Hit us with them.
All right, here we go. Interesting question from Bruno Ruiz, very topical. It says, what is your view on the recent MIT research citing the success of AI pilots at 5%? What would you say are the key success factors needed to overcome pilots not translating into positive ROI and actually changing to processes and ways of working?
So Avi, I think I can start. From my own experience, both inside ServiceNow and working with customers on including GenAI and actually any kind of game-changing technology like this, what I've seen is I guess the trend leads a lot of people to try to incorporate the technology as a technology-seeking application. The real value comes by thinking about how this technology can change your operating method. So including it into an existing process or even changing the process in order to accommodate the benefit of that technology is really the thinking pattern that gets customers to be successful. So I think I certainly see a lot of our customers that have started using GenAI in different places and the excitement around using it. The places where they've been tremendously successful is when they rethought their process and incorporated the tools in the right or in the existing workflow, rather than when they are kind of giving a tool to the employees and saying, use it as you will. And what I really believe that 5% is at an inflection point and going to change dramatically over the next few months, when all of the companies I work with, at least, are taking a much more strategic approach to using GenAI, and especially within the ServiceNow product, we're making sure that this gets incorporated into the way to take action, the way to investigate, just like you saw, in a way that feels very natural versus needing to go into any other place. And maybe a last plug to this is what you're seeing today is sort of a way to use GenAI in the interface, but over time, and even within the existing workflows that you saw today, some of this is going to be completely automated over time. So even with our September release at ServiceNow, the part where Danica was asking questions in the Now Assist panel is actually being automatically kind of started in the interface. So when you come to an alert, you would immediately see the first response of GenAI looking at that alert and helping you triage instead of needing to start that interface. So we're progressing into incorporating that capability in a much more seamless way. And I think that's the future that will get us to much higher than 5%.
I think from a Kentik perspective, maybe for sure our sample size is a lot smaller than MIT's, but I look at 7 customers that we've talked to who've been working on AI initiatives across, we'll just say operations and infrastructure, because that's the place that we play. And I would say that all of them have had some positive benefit. And so the goal has not been to completely automate everything, but rather to bring together generally tooling and questions and help people become, assist operations without needing to have that expertise. That's where I mentioned, I think A2A is a little bit early in MCP, but just using APIs to bring together natural language, help combine enterprise knowledge bases with some of the automation, I'll say people automation stacks ServiceNow is the leader and Kentik in observability. We've seen positive success. So maybe I have not read, I admit, the MIT article. Maybe I think the promises might be too big, but if you set the sights on achieving progress and doing the tractable, there's a lot out there that people can actually get success with today, I think.
Awesome. Let's jump. There's a lot of questions, so we'll try to go through these. An interesting one from the audience: that an alert jumped out in quotes at the operator. Can your AI actually identify what alerts require deeper investigation?
I'll start here. Yes, in Kentik, for customers that have opted in, and this is something that's going to be released generally in early preview very, very soon, you can go in and say, what alerts should I pay attention to? What are the issues? And it will go and the Kentik AI advisor will go look through all the alerts and do triage and present the high priority and recommendations about what to do. And that's not just which one should I pay attention to, but what might be things that I can actually do as recommendations to resolve. So that's definitely something that we've had a lot of feedback on, especially as customers often have a lot of alerts. The other one is asking for advice on how to decrease the noise, how to increase the relevance. As AI understands how to use the platform, can actually make recommendations for that.
And to add to that, on the ServiceNow side, AIOps as a technology really started as the ability to correlate alerts and understand better at what point do you want to take action, prioritize the time of the operators. So the first value point you can get from AIOps is really this noise reduction that was called out in the slide before. In the ServiceNow case, over 96% of alerts are actually suppressed by not needing a deeper investigation or a human intervention. The other part that you can do is, as we build these GenAI capabilities and become better at identifying an issue, we can also build a remediation within ServiceNow that will automatically go and fix the issue. And this can be used either with ServiceNow capabilities themselves or any third-party integration, just like Kentik, that we are basically calling from within the ServiceNow interface, either automatically or at the request of the operator. So you really have a list of tools that you can use to take action, and that action is not only while you understand the problem, it can also be to understand the problem. So what you saw that Danica built as a capability to ask questions, we're also including in the next release in September a form of a prompt that basically collects all the information an operator would like to know. Things like, what is the impact of this alert? Who should I contact to solve this? what kind of infrastructure, network, or application is actually having an issue right now, how many customers are affected, all of these things that make prioritization easy and help you understand if that issue requires a deeper investigation.
We'll go on to the next question here. And if you asked a question, thank you for being patient as we go through these. It says, can you please elaborate on faster attack detection?
I think that's on your side, Avi.
Yep, no worries. It's been a core part of the Kentik functionality that lives at the intersection of IT and security, in that attacks on the infrastructure become availability problems. And so it's been a big part of and focus of the Kentik platform over the last years, and something that over 2/3 of our customers use. So as long as we have a traffic, ideally metrics, if not, and then performance to be able to look at the impact of something that might be a spike, but if it isn't really affecting things, a lot of our customers are not that interested in, prioritizing as something they need to go take a look at. It really should be possible to detect attacks that are affecting critical infrastructure well sub-minute. I think attack detection and remediation, especially on the DDoS side, as Steve talked a little bit about, is one of the most advanced areas for automation that we see our customers doing. I think as you see Agentic AI becoming more and more powerful and embedded, you'll see what we call the big red button. So AI surfaces something and says, hey, here is a recommendation, something you can do about it. Click on this link to complete that automation. That's something we've seen on attack detection, to be able to completely remediate, whether it's all on-prem or with network routing changes, or even engaging a global cloud scrubber. So happy to talk more. You can reach out to Kentik, Avi at kentik.com, about kinds of attacks. But really, I think this is not new news, but something that's possible to do pretty quickly and with good signal on most infrastructures today globally.
Right. And a quick one here. Do you have any use case studies for automotive manufacturing?
So we definitely have a lot of customers in that industry. If you want to learn more about the specifics of their stories, you can go to servicenow.com/customers, and you'll find a lot of these stories. Specifically, I think the one that comes to mind immediately is we've worked with an automotive manufacturing company in Europe that has looked at the manufacturing area just like an IT shop. So basically, taking all the OT signals and the IT from the computers in the line and trying to find a way to manage all of it like a big IT infrastructure. And the efficiency that they saw from it was beyond just being able to address things through one interface. They were also able to build a framework to understand and knowledge base articles and really predict issues, because many of the issues actually came forward as log messages that were an anomaly. So when you think about the way to proactively find issues, many of the signals that you want to look at are actually hidden, and they can only be found through looking at the low-level signals like logs, like network streams, and things that mostly people don't look at because it's too much information to look at. That's where AIOps play a big role. And within the automotive industry, we have a lot of these stories, as I said, on the website that you should look at. I'm also happy to discuss this privately if more information is needed, and I'll give my email at the end of this.
And thanks. And I know another question just came in about the same question for electrical grids and utility companies. And I think in both the manufacturing and the utility side, we also have fewer than ServiceNow, but some customers there. Some of them are quite happy to talk to folks in their industries, but not quite as open to talking in public use cases as they're running critical infrastructure that they want to protect. But back to the automotive side, we see core IT as well as manufacturing, as well as telemetry from the vehicles. All three of those things that people are using observability and automation around, in a growing way.
Next question I can answer. Can we please get a recording of the call? Yes, you can. We're happy to send that out afterward, and I'm glad I could, jump in here. All right, we'll go to something a bit more technical. How do you measure AI's impact on Kentik usability and performance?
So it's an interesting one because we've looked at when we release features, how do people engage with those? And actually, in some ways, we want to see more engagement. But as systems get federated, APIs become an important way of doing that. And as we incorporate AI capabilities, we want that use of that to go up, even as the total time may go down that people are engaging with. So in the platform, we have ways of people giving feedback. We are, for customers that don't opt out, looking at the internal usage of the Kentik platform in terms of the new AI capabilities, as well as what questions people are asking that the system can do better for. And so, we measure that internally, and as part of our core product management focus, are people asking the right questions, getting answers, and ironically, is it reducing some of the use of some of the core slice and dice capabilities, while at the same time, the AI is actually using those on their behalf. So it's a different kind of product instrumentation. That's probably a different product management seminar for someone to do of product management measurement in the age of AI.
Right, here's a big question here. Network management professionals feel very cautious about exposing their data to AI to get guidance and to allow third-party analysis of this data. How do you provide and guarantee security of firewall config and other sensitive network data? And how do you quantify the cost-benefit results to your users? Do you allow customers to deploy your AI tech both on-prem and in the cloud? So a number of questions there.
I'll try to split that up maybe into three questions. Um, Kentik has the ability to deploy an on-prem version of Kentik. It's still SaaS that is managed, and in some cases, some of our customers, especially on the more regulated side, choose to do that. Separately, every customer has to opt in to using the AI capabilities, and every single component of that Kentik runs internally and with any partners has a promise that no training is happening on that data. And you can think of it as all the AI capabilities being subject to the same limitations that humans are in terms of AI, role-based access, APIs, role-based access control, and what can access what. So you really think of AI as operating on behalf of the humans. It all starts with who's supposed to have access to what data. On the Kentik side, that's all multi-tenanted and restricted, and we're really just extending that regime. And some of the capabilities that people want to use their own in-house AI is a little bit behind what we're doing in terms of the public availability, but that's all something that we're investing in, on a continued basis. And I am curious, Gab, how is ServiceNow, handling, some of the same questions in terms of, if we think about system of record, ServiceNow is that for a lot of our customers with what is where and what is the IT estate.
Yeah, so I think for the security question, we definitely support on-premise in terms of where your infrastructure and networks reside. And the way we handle that is through what we call the mid server, which is and in the DMZ server that collects that information and sends the needed parts into the ServiceNow cloud server. In the case of a complete air-gapped environment, there are solutions to that as well, although a lot less popular. On the AI, sending the data to AI, I think what you mentioned is really key. I don't see a future where enterprises are not using AI practically everywhere. And I think that as the industry continues to evolve this technology, more and more kind of models would be exposed into customers, and the ability to use. ServiceNow specifically brings today every capability as a way to use 4 different market-leading LLMs, and you can plug in your own LLM if you want, because we're built as a platform. So you definitely can change that into your own AI infrastructure and basically not send anything, which is data, into the cloud if you want to. I'm not seeing that a lot of the customers are actually this cautious, and probably because it's the early innings of how to use this technology. They're mostly trying to gauge what the benefit would be before basically putting it everywhere. So maybe keep the places where you have the most important data to not expose to the world as a secondary action. But I think once you learn about the benefits, there's a cost and security kind of chasm that you need to go through. There's definitely a way to do that, and a good way to do that, even with customers in regulated industries. So I think that that problem is really getting solved across the industry, not just within ServiceNow and Kentik.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions here. Well, all right, well, here we go. This is a good question. So comparing between agentic ops and common network automation, what level of time saving for the analyst is expected? And also, can we say that implementing agentic ops may allow the business to reduce team headcounts?
I think what we've seen is, I'll start with the second part of that, empowering the experts to do the job they were hired for. I think that's a key underlying theme about the use of AI, is not as much about reducing headcount as helping the tier one to self-serve, route, resolve, helping adjacent teams to understand, is there a network issue so that it can be routed correctly, and dealt with by the network team if it is, and have the experts that were hired to do architecture, implementation, engineering, scaling, focus on that rather than on the more rote tasks. So I think both sides of, to the first part of the question, both sides of that are important, both the agentic ops to watch everything, winnow down what's worth human attention, make recommendations. It's important, and then you need some automation to connect. I think one of the great things about some of the AI capabilities is it really helps network people understand, be able to use APIs to drive some of the automation that people want to do, although there's still some scaling challenges, as we see a lot of our customers. Every engineer still has their own Python scripts, their own APIs. There's still some systemic work to do there that I'm happy to talk with folks about what we see, across our enterprise customers.
From my vantage point, I think Gartner kind of puts AI in 2 buckets of domain expert or domain specific AI, and then there's generic. I think in the case of domain specific AI, where, for example, within Kentik, the ability to look at the traffic and understand, just like a network engineer, what's going on, recommend root cause analysis and things like that. It's a great help for the network engineer to better their performance and do things faster and more accurately. I see that as an opportunity to do things in a more cost-effective way and get a better result. As you climb up the ladder, like you saw in ServiceNow with looking at full departments, I do see that customers, even at the lowest levels of the organization, but certainly at the leadership level, are looking for ways to use automations and GenAI as a way to flatten the curve of employee growth in certain areas. so that the growth of the company continues to happen while you have sublinear growth in the amount of employees you need to actually serve that customer base. I think that's a great metric for leadership to be calling out to the market. We certainly see the biggest companies in the world doing that these days. So the opportunities there to save money on things that required a lot of people, and now GenAI can do the mundane work for them. We still require, and that has been very consistent across our customer base, that business decisions will be made by humans. Obviously, no one wants a network AI that will take down the network during Black Friday or something like that because there's a spike in the network. So business decisions are still left to people, but a lot of the mundane work and investigative work that takes a lot of time can be faster and more accurate using these technologies.
And Gab, I think something you mentioned to me that for ServiceNow customers, that your IT group actually has a focus on talking to customers about how they're getting some of these kind of benefits, because that was a really impressive slide that you showed. Uh,
Yeah,
and so for ServiceNow customers, I think they can talk to you guys more about that.
yeah, certainly.
Let me see if I'm able to understand this question correctly. I believe it says, I use ServiceNow for opportunity management and for IT ops. Can I run any process like traffic engineering with observability integrated with ServiceNow?
So I'm not sure I get the full question, but let me describe what I understand from this. As you look at past incident inside ServiceNow, we have a product called AIOps Leap, which is learning enhanced automation playbooks, which allows you to look at the opportunities to automate basically past incidents. So you'd see how many incidents are in a cluster, and we automatically cluster them for you and say, for example, all of these incidents could have been solved by this automation opportunity. And then you can take that opportunity and build a full-fledged automation inside ServiceNow or with a third party vendor and actually continue to build those remediations that could be completely automatic. Part of it is looking at traffic data and observability vendors as inputs into that process. So not only looking at the incident itself, but also the underlying infrastructure, network, application data that brought you there so that you have a better way to identify that this is the actual problem to solve and that the automation is a great fit to solve that problem. I hope that answers the question, if I understood it right.
So,
Yeah, and
all right,
I think that as well, yes, people will be able to reach in and ask some of those super nerdy questions that people want to do specific traffic engineering and such, via the integration as well. But we want to make it accessible, via this integration to people that probably are not trying to, change the routing, necessarily right from that interface.
I think we're at our last question here, which is, with the integration into ServiceNow, are you seeing more network teams using AIOps more for their main place to monitor for issues, or do they use Kentik or both tools to monitor for issues around the network?
I think that really just depends. Network team is a big term. There might be 20 different subparts of network teams across, 3 or 4 different teams. And so I think you might see architects still use Kentik, but there's so many people that are in the life cycle of the network that we see, as I said, ServiceNow is their automation platform that routes, selects, and that a lot of those network teams already operate in, and we're thrilled to, bring them more functionality in that.
I think the way I can elaborate is that ServiceNow, serving more than 12,000 enterprises today, is seeing a lot of these enterprise workflows where there are different teams that are responsible to identifying an issue and then promoting it to the domain expert that can actually take action. In that case, many of the processes that we see start with a help desk or a network or even just I would call it an operations center that really looks at all the alerts that come from different sources through our AIOps, reduce the noise by as much as 96%, and then look at those alerts correlated into infrastructure, network, application, all the different stack elements, and then correlated with data coming from observability vendors. What Danica showed today, her innovation, is really being able to do this at the agent level. But the data level also lives within ServiceNow with a product we call Service Observability. So being able to consolidate all of these observability signals into a service component, helping the persona inside ServiceNow know what is actually being impacted and who should they contact as a domain expert to solve the problem. And then what we see as a pattern that continues to come up, people love their tools. Kentik is a great tool. ServiceNow is certainly not a replacement for that depth of understanding of the network. So being able to assign that ticket to someone that has access to Kentik is the next step. And we see that network engineers really take the action within that interface. So it really is about being able to understand who to contact, what context to give them, and staying within the lanes of who does what within an enterprise where there's more than one person handling these issues.
Yeah, and I'll just end with that. Like Gab said, the agentic integration doesn't eliminate, either tool. Both there's different personas. The tools are for different personas. The first responders tend to work primarily in ServiceNow because that's where incidents are correlated across IT and network data. And they use that as a single place to triage, prioritize, and kick off the investigation. And then network experts, L2, L3, pivot into Kentik for deeper analysis. And so this integration just ensures that both workflows are connected. ServiceNow surface the issues, assess impact, and then we pass it to the expert to dive into Kentik.
Thanks, Danica. And that concludes the Q&A portion of today's webinar. Just a couple of last takeaways here before we'll ship out the survey.
Yeah, I will say if you didn't get your questions answered, please feel free to contact us. We're happy to talk to you and make ourselves available for that. I think just the key takeaways is this is real stuff that you can use today. We're happy to have you reach out to us. People are getting benefits in terms of the triage and routing, in terms of debugging and automating operations. And we're thrilled to be partnering with ServiceNow and customers on this. So thanks again to the ServiceNow team and to everyone for joining, and especially for all the questions.
Thanks, everyone.